Pokemon cards have been growing non-stop for 5 years, but 2026 may change everything. Though before I get into the details, I'm actually gifting this Team Rocket's Wheezing to one subscriber. Now, if I reply to your comment with this Milotic emoji, then well done, this card is getting sent to you. Also, if you're a fan of giveaways, I'm actually going live on Whatnot and giving away packs of Pokemon 151 and Journey Together on 26th of October at 6 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time, and I'll speak more about that stream a little bit later in this video. But everyone's saying how Pokemon cards are just rising forever, but what's gonna happen when it stops doing that? One issue that's kind of plagued 2025 was that the demand outpaced projected printing capabilities. I mean, we had Prismatic Evolutions release, we had Pokemon TCG Pocket become popular, we had Destined Rivals, which was literally a Team Rocket throwback nostalgia set. All this happened within a 6-month period, so it was a really condensed, short amount of time, and it pulled so many people back into the hobby because you had so much hype kind of concentrated in a small amount of time. And obviously the current printing requirements couldn't deal with the newfound demand. Now, another thing you need to keep in mind is the way people collect Pokemon cards has also changed, and that needs to be taken into consideration because in 2018 and 2019, people would buy maybe a booster box or buy one ETB, they would open it up and they would call it a day. But not many people do that anymore because nearly everyone, they buy one to open, and then they buy one to keep it sealed, and a lot of the time they even buy more than one product to keep sealed at any given time. So this new consumer behavior needs to be added into the production equation because the days of just buying one booster box per person is not really a thing anymore. But some interesting movements have been happening in the market, and when looking over this, we can make some interesting forecasts for the future. Check this out. All right, let's get into the first one, which is the Mew Special Illustration Rare. Now, as you can see on that graph right there has been a weird journey with this card in the last 3 months. This is a really cool SIR, and the only way to obtain this Special Illustration Rare isn't actually from opening Pokemon 151 packs. This is actually pretty unique because this card is only available in the 151 Ultra Premium Collection, which was actually a really rare product in hindsight. The Ultra Premium Collection was really cool. You actually got 16 Pokemon 151 booster packs inside it, and you did get 3 unique promos inside the UPC, which included this Mew Special Illustration Rare. You also got the Mewtwo Illustration Rare, and you got a gold card, which was the Mew Gold, which you could also pull in Pokemon 151, but you could get the gold medal version within the UPC. Here is the weird thing about this card, and I'm gonna just pull this into the year graph just so you can see how this card has traveled over the long term. When we go to last year around this time, you can see that this card was pretty much like a $12 card. Super affordable, very cool card. It was a pretty cheap Special Illustration Rare promo, but of course there wasn't that much promo hype during this time, and you can see that it kind of just started rising and then it ballooned all the way up to $75, which honestly is pretty expensive considering that it was a guaranteed card within the UPC. Though what kind of caused this massive spike in price is because I think a lot of people realized that, hey, the UPC was like a very limited product, and at the time it was really available, and if you did want to buy a Pokemon 151 Ultra Premium Collection, they were pretty available for a pretty long amount of time, and then they just weren't. And then that's just what happens with this hobby. Something's available for a long amount of time, it just leaves, and then people are like, wait, I really want that in my collection. Oh, wow. And of course, that kind of made the price spike. But if we look right now, you can see it's dropped, and now it's selling for 60 US. A lot of questions are coming up why this card has dropped in price. I have a feeling that this card was maybe hyped a little bit too quickly. Even though it was guaranteed, it's no secret that the 151 UPC is a very hard product to obtain. And just when looking at the 151 Ultra Premium Collection, you can see in the last 3 months, it's really grown as well, selling for 397 US, and then it went all the way up to $595. And you can see if I pull it into the year graph, you can see it just started getting pretty in demand around last year, selling for around $193. This was pretty affordable, early 2024. By October last year, it already started climbing, but you can see it's had some massive growth, currently selling for $600. The 151 UPC is the only way to obtain that promo, and of course, being such an expensive box, it's going to be interesting to see, will the price come down? Because if this starts climbing up more in price, I really doubt people are going to be opening their 151 Ultra Premium collections to try get that promo card. But it's made it a very, very interesting box to have because those promo cards inside are super expensive, and of course a lot of people want those in their collections, and they are kind of being gatekept by a pretty difficult way to obtain them. Same thing with the Pokemon 151 Elite Trainer box, selling for $268, right now selling for around $400. $100 all in the last month. And what's really interesting, as you can see right there on that graph, a lot of people are like, wow, booster boxes aren't climbing anymore in price. Are they gonna start now dipping down in price? And the reality is they've just been climbing for way too long. If I pull this into the year graph, just when looking at that right there, you can see there's literally never been any kind of slowdown within the last year for Pokemon 151 Elite Trainer boxes. But of course, a lot of people are now wondering what's gonna happen with this product in particular. Pokemon 151 is one of the most sought after Pokemon products out there. When you have the original 151 Pokemon and you have such good artworks like Pokemon 151 had, of course, the demand is always gonna be there. By the way, as I mentioned earlier, I've actually got a huge Pokemon 151 and Journey Together giveaway happening on Whatnot, and I'll also be auctioning packs starting at $1 on October 26th, 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Now, today's video is sponsored by Whatnot. Whatnot is one of the fastest growing live shopping platforms out there. You can jump into live streams, you can chat with creators, and you can bid on products all in real time. And the Pokemon community on Whatnot is massive, and you'll see sellers all around the world. Now, if you've never tried Whatnot before, I honestly think that joining my stream is a real easy way to learn the platform. And what's cool is you can just join the giveaways and see what it's like. And I also do auction packs on the stream, which I begin at $1. At this stage, I don't know if we can even top the Greninja SIR pool. I mean, that's still the best one we've had. Now, the best part is if you are a new user, you can actually get a free $15 credit when signing up using my link. All you need to do is head to the link in the description, or you can just scan the QR code that's appearing on screen right now. A massive thanks to Whatnot for supporting the channel, and I can't wait to see you all on the stream. Now let's get back into the video. Now moving on to an interesting one is the Destined Rivals booster box. 3 months ago, selling for $283 US, went all the way up to $467 for one booster box, that's banana pricing, man. I mean, that is banana pricing for a set that's like, September? Well, that was selling for $467 in September. I mean, what's that, like 3 months old at that point, even 4 months old? That's just, it shouldn't get to those prices that quickly. And that's the problem with Pokemon cards at this stage. Pretty much, that's approaching a $500 booster box, 3 months after release. And right now it's really calmed down, selling for $388, which is still way overs for a product that is like, pretty much to me, it's a new set. Like there's been not many people have even been able to open the set because how hard it is to obtain. So, a lot of kind of questions around Destined Rivals. It pretty much is the evolving skies of Scarlet and Violet because, even though Pokemon 151 is the most in-demand product, that's still a specialty set. Destined Rivals is a mainline set for Scarlet and Violet, and it is the evolving skies of this generation or the team up for, Sun and Moon. So this is why I think there is going to be a bit of demand, but I do think that booster box price can still come down a little bit more, though whether or not that's going to happen is anyone's guess. I think we would need real high amount of reprints to get that price down. But of course, there's so much things happening right now. A lot of people are focused on Mega Evolution. You've still got people who want to collect Black Bolt, White Flare. Whether or not even Prismatic Evolutions is still so much in demand. So whether or not Destined Rivals is going to come down more in price, I think now it's just a game of just waiting it out and seeing what happens with the price. Now moving on to the Mega Evolution Special Illustration Rares, they've been really in demand recently as well. And this is the Mega Lucario, selling for $271, right now selling for around $296. So pretty much a $300 special illustration rare. Honestly, they've came out pretty much really strong out the floodgates. I do think the reason why these special illustration rares are so expensive at this stage is all to do with the cost of the booster boxes. I think if the cost of the booster box was a bit more like normal pricing, then I think the special illustration rares would also be somewhat more reasonable in pricing. But of course, getting a brand new SIR, $300 straight out the floodgate, it's very expensive, and the cost of the hobby has risen so much recently, because booster packs and booster boxes are so expensive to open. Now all the hits in the pack have just gotten super expensive as well. So, that is a little bit problematic because a lot of people want to add these to their collections, but spending $300 for a raw card, and we don't even know the gem mint rates for these as well. It's likely, if it's been like any other special illustration rare, it'll be like a 50 or a 60% chance to get this as a PSA 10. So then the PSA 10 also gets another big price hike on top of that as well. So, that's another thing to consider. And just looking at the Mega Gardevoir SIR, selling for $290, right now selling for $310. So, the two really in-demand SIRs from this set are the Lucario and the Gardevoir, and the market's really responded to these and say, hey, these are the two in-demand cards from this set. I do think that Mega Evolution is okay as a set. I'm really interested to know your thoughts. Do you think Mega Evolution has been a real new, exciting kind of start for this new Mega Evolution era? Or do you think the set has been a little bit lackluster? We're just all finding our feet with how this new era is going to play out. I think, especially the Scarlet and Violet era, like when you had, Destined Rivals come out and you had Black Bolt, White Flare and Prismatic Evolutions, we've been on such a high. I'm really hoping that maybe this whole new Mega Evolution era that we're entering will slowly calm a little bit of things down, because you do have the 30th anniversary coming out. That event is such a highly kind of talked about moment for Pokemon's history, for Pokemon's TCG. A lot of people are anticipating when the 30th anniversary kind of reveals itself and we see all the products and we see what happens. A lot of people are really eagerly awaiting that. You're going to get a lot of people that I think are going to try sell during the 30th anniversary, especially if the hobby kind of peaks in popularity, okay? You got to also remember though, a lot of people might have the same idea. And when a lot of people have the same idea and a lot of people are kind of expecting something, sometimes it doesn't actually play out that way, and that's an interesting thing. So right now, I know a lot of people in the hobby are waiting for the 30th anniversary. I know a lot of people are saying, I'm gonna sell when the 30th anniversary comes around. And because a lot of people may have that idea, usually when things just kind of spike heaps is usually when we kind of get blindsided. Kind of like when Pokemon TCG Pocket released, and no one thought that would cause such a big demand or surge in popularity in Pokemon cards for the physical TCG. That's kind of when real big changes happen. Or kind of like how the pandemic caused so much people to enter the hobby. These things no one could have predicted. Because everyone's just waiting around for 30th anniversary, there could be a chance that nothing really happens like people expect, because everyone, or pretty much all the viewers watching are waiting for Pokemon's 30th anniversary. People are gonna know it's such a massive event for Pokemon, and probably they're already planning. They've probably been planning what they're going to release for the TCG for the last 2 years for that event. I think with this hobby is you kind of have to expect the unexpected rather than just trying to play it too much to like what massive events are happening. Also, connecting with the community is very important, and one of the best ways to do that is just by joining my channel's Discord server. We have over 10,000 members, and you'll also be first in line to hear about upcoming giveaways and live streams. The server invite is in the video's description. And the last 3 months for the Mega Evolution Enhanced Booster Box have been pretty interesting. Selling for around $342 when it kind of announced that it was coming out. Right now selling for $276 US, which is still pretty expensive, but it's far more, attainable than what Destined Rivals is. And this is an enhanced booster box, and you do get that really cool Bulbasaur promo box topper on top, which you can see as well is selling for a fair bit. The Bulbasaur has dropped a little bit in price, but still it's selling for $27 US. I think $27 for a guaranteed promo is awesome, to be honest. And yes, you have to buy a whole booster box to kind of get this promo stamp, but a lot of people would buy 1 or 2 or even 3 enhanced booster boxes to open. So, they're not exactly the rarest cards, but I do think that these, enhanced booster box toppers will become interesting in the future. I mean, look at Pokemon Center products. Even though the Pokemon Center stamped cards are much harder to obtain, I still think that, there's a big kind of focus in the hobby of promo cards at the moment. And, it's going to be interesting to see how these, this card and Ends Reshiram as well play out in the future. And of course, looking at the Mega Kangaskhan as well. And this one is probably one of the more kind of attainable special illustration rares. Was selling for around $101. Right now selling for $94. So no real movement in the price, but $95 for a special illustration rare, I think is a pretty, considering the cost of the hobby has gone up so much in price, I think that's all right. I mean, is Kangaskhan, it's a Gen 1 Pokemon, do people really love it that much? I personally really like this card, but of course, we're going to have to see how it plays out. I think when you've got the other chase cards selling for $300 US, I think $94 doesn't look too bad in comparison. A lot of people are now, kind of thinking what's going to happen with Mega Evolution. Is it going to get a lot of reprints? I did find some Mega Evolution in store, but how long? Because I feel like the lifetime of products is so short right now as well. Back when Obsidian Flames released, or Paldea Evolved, or even Scarlet and Violet Base, I was finding that for like a year after release. Right now, I don't know if next year around this time I would even find any Mega Evolution, in stock, right? Because the lifetime of products, their cycle is so small. It's like you've got a month or 2 months to get the product, then it's the next thing. That's causing a lot of upwards pressure on previous products because a lot of people want to add these to their collections, but they're paying a premium. So it's going to be interesting to see. I do think that the hobby is in a weird position, and I think 2026 is going to reveal a lot of different answers. But you know, more collectors are entering the hobby right now, but with all the newcomers, there's also a lot of common mistakes that are happening as well. And I actually revealed the top 5 biggest mistakes to avoid when collecting Pokemon cards right here. If you're new to the hobby and you want to learn some important information, feel free to click the video that's currently appearing on screen. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next video.